View the two different views, logical and physical, the two different modes, real-time and simulation, as well as examine the main menu bars, toolbars, and other controls that are part of what make packet tracers so powerful. At the top, we have a traditional menu bar with file, edit, options, and so on. Probably the only file option that needs specific explanation is PKZ, because we can add custom backgrounds and custom icons to the packet tracer workspaces. If you want to save those graphics, you need to save as a PKZ. Common cartridge is something that relates to instructors only, and this is an instructor version, so there's a few options that students won't see. Notice that it uses standard keyboard shortcuts. Options, probably the most important options for a student, is a user profile where you can put in your name, your email address, and additional information. Instructors may require you that you complete this in submitting assignments, and of special note, in the self-graded packet tracer activities, changing the name or the user profile at all may reset the entire activity. A couple other options that are useful is under Preferences, device name labels such as Show Device Model. So I can see this is a 2960, this is a 2911. Or font, which is also very useful. I've set my command line interface font to 12 instead of the standard 8, just so it will capture better. View, zooming in and out, the three main toolbars, which are the main, the right, and the bottom. A drawing palette and a custom device dialog. The drawing palette is how we create these rectangles. Devices, you can customize a modular device and save it for later use. A variety of extensions. Now this is an instructor version, so a student will not see as many, but you probably will have multi-user and these additional agent users down here. Help is very useful. This is where you find out what version of packet tracer you're running. The tutorials are short online slideshows of how to do common tasks, and the contents is an online manual. The main toolbar lies immediately below the menu bar. It repeats the most common commands, file, save, and so on, copy and paste, undo, redo, the zoom commands, and the drawing palette and the custom device dialog. But on the right-hand side are two other things. Help that'll take you straight to the online manual, and information which is about the particular network you're working with, and you can type any text in here you would like. I've chosen to put in an addressing plan for this particular topology. Underneath the main toolbar is the logical, physical, and navigation bar. It looks somewhat like a framing element, but it is active with many controls. Let's take a brief look at physical. Physical allows us to create buildings and closets. We can navigate down. Let's zoom in a bit. Here's our city. Within a city, I may have buildings, and within a building, I may have a wiring closet. You can see now that this is a navigation, I'm in the main wiring closet. I can go back. The square brackets indicate where I am, back to home city, and so on. Back to the logical view. If you accidentally click on physical, how do you get back? Click on the logical icon. Our main workspace right over here. Our right-hand toolbar is where there's a lot of action. Our select tool works by clicking and dragging to select. I can hover to find out some information about the device. So a router, you can see the IP, the IPv6, and MAC addresses of the interfaces and their states, whether they're up or down. If I click on a device, I can get an inside view of the device. I can look at it physically. I can look at config mode, which is a GUI interface for configuring. So for example, if I want to turn gigabit 00 on, I can just click here. And underneath here, it will actually show me, in the bottom portion of the window, the command line commands, or I can go to the command line itself and give the typical command. Show IP interface brief, for example. That doesn't have all the full operating system commands, but it has many, many useful commands. It's a very useful learning tool. One more thing to show you in the physical is we can power cycle the device. We can turn it off. And while it's off, we can install additional cards. So I installed an HWIC, which will give me 2 WAN interfaces. Notice, because did I power it back on? Yep, I powered it back on, but right now it's rebooting. All right, we have a move layout, not appropriate for this small layout. Place notes, which is how we place things like text directly on the page that's not part of any component. Delete, it'll delete what's ever selected. Or I can delete something else. I'm going to undo. Notice it only has 1 layer of undo. I showed that if we hover, we can find out information. If I hover over a cable, it's very useful. It can show me what ports I'm attached to. But if I want more information, I can click the Inspect tool, where I can look at, for example, the routing table of a router. The inspection choices are appropriate for the device. Or in a switch, I can see the MAC table, for example. The Polygon tool, which is how we draw these things. Resize Polygon, which lets me change existing shapes. Add Simple PDU. This is very useful. I'm going to click on Headquarters 2. What is the Simple PDU? It is an ICMP Echo Request PDU. And when I click on it, that chooses my source. When I click on another object, that shows my destination, and I see down in my user-created packet window that it was successful. And if it wasn't successful, as many one-shot first-time pings are not, I can simply double-click on it to fire it and force it to travel again. Of course, we didn't see it because it's very fast. The custom PDU gives me a lot more variety. For example, if I wanted to ping from the headquarters router, I can choose the outgoing interface, which is very useful for checking successful routing. And not only can I ping, I can use other protocols. Same destination IP address, one-shot or periodic, if I want to send a string of packets repeatedly, very useful for troubleshooting an intermittent problem. I mentioned that this was real-time and the successful ping was very quick. If we go to simulation mode, we can see that there is that packet sitting there waiting to be travel forward, and by clicking one step at a time, I can watch the packet travel through my network. At any particular point, I can double-click on a packet and view an overview of, in the case of this, there's going to be an incoming and an outgoing PDU because it's an echo request followed by an ICMP echo reply. Or I can look at the PDU in detail and see the Ethernet frame, the IP header, and the ICMP payload within the IP packet. Or I can look at the outbound PDU as well. Very useful. I also can auto capture. Instead of clicking each step, I can just let it travel as it wishes and then stop it at any particular point. And I can fire it again. Now it's in progress, auto capture play. There we go. And there it goes automatically. And I can adjust the speed over here. But there we go. I can go back to real-time mode. Let's take a look at the bottom toolbar. In the bottom toolbar, we can choose what device we use to build our network. So I need a switch. So I'm going to choose a switch. There may be more devices and more models as we move into the future. I'm going to place a 2960 switch here. Now I need to connect that 2960. So I have my various connections. Auto choose is very nice. I can simply choose the auto choose tool, say I'm going to connect from east to switch 0. It'll make its best guess, which is usually pretty good, and choose the correct cable and connect. In some packet tracer activities, your instructor may lock that and you won't be able to use the automatic tool, and you'll have to know which type of cable to use. Down at the bottom, it tells me the type of cable. I can click here. I'm choosing it straight through to connect from switch port 2 to switch PCE1. That gives me complete control. Now, if I plug into the wrong port, or in this case, autocomplete chose the first available port, which was F0, I can click in my status light, click over here, and move it to Ethernet 01. I'm going to redo that. I'm going to move this to a different interface. Because notice I have the orange light. That's because spanning tree protocol is resolving whether it's safe to come up. I could wait 50 seconds, or in my real-time simulation control panel, I can say fast forward time, and I can fast forward real time to even speed it up further. So I could speed up the boot process or STP or anything that I'm waiting on. I can also power cycle all my devices simultaneously instead of going to physical view. But like the real equipment, if I haven't saved my config, it will, of course, lose the config. Wrap it up. I can have multiple scenarios for my pings and my custom packets. I can toggle the PDU window to make it very large to expand it in more detail, or I can just keep it down to where it was. If I click delete here, it does not delete the scenario, it just deletes the packets within that scenario. And that concludes our brief overview.